Welcome. This video is about how to be the general evaluator in your meetings at Toastmaster, and not just how to do it, but how to be effective at it. So that's one of the most important roles, is the general evaluator and your team. And so I am D Jackson, your platform partner. I am with Bold Literary Talker 708-973. Yes, from the Windy City, where we be. Yes, I know it doesn't sound right, but there's no grammarian on this video. So we're going to go directly into it. So being the general evaluator is a very important role. So in our club, I'm going to show you some things. So one thing is, if you want to see the resource that I'm going to be kind of going off of my outline, if you go to Bold Literary Talkers, just Google it up and then go to our website. You're going to come here and then you're going to come to public downloads. Anyone can do this. For the public can be able to download this, what I'm looking at, or what we're about to look at. Now, while we're getting to this, and so when you're going to get here, you're going to come here on this page. Now you're going to see different downloads. And there's one that says General Evaluator. It says General Evaluator Report. And right, you would just click on that, it would download. So I've already downloaded it. So we're going to pull that up right now. Now, I want you to know, as the document is beginning to open up, in our club, we have a policy where if you want to be the general evaluator, you had to give at least 6 speeches and at least a minimum of 3 evaluations. And you want to shadow someone else who is doing the general evaluator's report. So there's 6 speeches, 3 evaluations, and you shadow the general evaluator. When you do that, now you are eligible to be the general evaluator of the meeting. And so this form here is a form that we have it laminated, and there's eraser markers that's inside. We have that in our suitcase at every single meeting. So you can always be able to pull this form. So as we're pulling this form up, it's taking its time. Oh, here it is here. So as this is coming, all right, so there's a checklist. Now, first I want you to realize, as the general evaluator, you have a team. So the people that are on your team are going to be grammarian, you have the timer, and you also have evaluators, right? And here's one other thing I want you to look at before we get into that. Is on our club's website, we also have our agenda, because the general evaluator needs to know what the agenda is, because you're evaluating everything on the agenda. So to find our agendas, you would go to our home page, and then you would click on a link. And so we're going to look at this link here. And so this is agenda 3. So this is the January meeting. And so you would see, this will let you know who's already signed up for what position. Okay, so in this case, you see no one is signed up. But you'll go to an old meeting where people are signed up. So then you know who your evaluators are, right? So you want to know that, because you want to communicate with your evaluators before the meeting, because you want to make sure. So in this case, you see I got 4 evaluators. So here are my evaluators, here are their names. So you start contacting them, and you want to tell your evaluators, make sure that you call and speak with your speakers. So that way that the speakers have already spoke about whatever their topics is, their time constraints, if they have a bio, if there's anything outside of the manual that the evaluator should be looking at. Also, on page 2 here is where they have their introductions as well. So, you want to make sure that the speakers submit those. All right, so let's get back to the general evaluation team. So speaking of this is a tool, right? This checklist. Another thing, tools that we have available as well, is we have a timers report, and we also have a grammarian report. These are laminated, and they are actually inside of the suitcase. And you want to make sure that your timer, your grammarian, is working from that form. So that way it's simple, easy, plug and play. All right, but let's look at the general evaluation checklist. So one thing that you want to begin to look at before the meeting is called an order. Help the speakers connect with the speech evaluators. We're talking about the banner is in place, the lectern and gavel is available. Toastmaster members have their badges on. Make sure there's a greeter at the doors with a sign-in sheet, and make sure that someone is greeting the guests, right? So also the sergeant at arms will do this role, but as the general evaluator, you're going to pay attention to that, right? Because it's important to the energy of the meeting. Also, you want to make sure that if there's any changes that needed, you're not even necessarily making sure, you're just watching. You're just watching to see how are the Toastmaster handling it, how are the leaders handling it. So you can help, but your main thing is to make sure that you're taking notes on it. So if there's changes, how smoothly is that done? Are the evaluators prepared with their evaluations? Are people bringing their manuals, right? Where are the speakers We just spoke about that. Did it appear the Toastmaster here received bios for the speakers? Okay, all this is important. You want to take note. Did everyone speak in the meeting? That type of stuff is important. Are people following the protocols? Are people, were the table topics inappropriate? Could the table topics been better, maybe more engaging? Were some of the table topics too challenging for novice or neophyte speakers? These are things that you want to pay attention to. Also, please remember that you will not have time to comment on everything. So you're not going to have, you can't. So it's going to be so, you just want to pick out, maybe like, maybe 3 things that you saw that you want to point out. Make 3 points. Or if you don't have much time, just say here just 2 things. One thing that went really, really well, one thing that we can improve on. Okay, so be selective with your oral evaluation. Make it clear that your opinions are expressed on your own. Now, this is important. As evaluators, sometimes you're going to hear the evaluators go up and say, hey, you know what? Your goal was to persuade everybody, and you did just that. Everyone was persuaded. But you know what? You cannot speak for everyone else. You can only speak for yourself. So as the evaluator, you want to make sure that you're saying like, hey, as I saw you on this stage, you moved me. You made me more excited when you mentioned this story and those points. And so I think and I believe in my opinion, because it's all about your opinion. You can't say the phrases you should have or you must do, because none of this stuff is mandatory, right? None of it is mandatory that they do it to be effective. You're just giving your personal opinion. All right, so here are the general evaluators report that we use. Again, this is laminated and can be found in the suitcase. And so again, this is stuff that you're going to be rating on. Like you can do a 1 through 5, 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. Was the meeting started on time? Was it smoothly? Table topics, did everyone speak? Because you want the guests to speak if possible. Where the guests get the opportunity to speak and introduce themselves at the end of the meeting. Were the introductions of the guests, and it was over everybody, was that appropriate? Did the speakers accomplish their purpose? And this is important because sometimes your evaluator might give an evaluation and they might say, you know what, your speech was great. There was nothing else you could improve on. You as the general evaluator need to always find an area of opportunity. So that's when you have to evaluate your evaluators. And you need to tell your evaluator, or you should tell your evaluators, that they have to you have to point out something that they could have improved on, whether it be anything from, maybe they could have recorded their speech and watched it over and over again. Maybe they could have used a prop, maybe they could have worked on something, but you got to find something. Also, were there time limits observed, and did the meeting flow smoothly? So you want to also be evaluating even when your timer goes up and their grammarian goes up. Look at sometimes people are too rigid and they'll say, or the grammarian will always say, here are your ums and ahs, when sometimes the grammarian only needs to point out things that really stood out sometimes, depending on the meeting. Sometimes you might just say, does anything stood out as really negative? Because sometimes the ums and ums, like for example, somebody might have had 33 uhs and ums. And so in our club, we don't say you had 33. We said, well, you had over 5. Right? And so if your evaluator says you had 33, you might want to mention that to your evaluator to say you had over 5, because you don't want people to be embarrassed. So overall, you want to make sure people had fun. It has to be exciting. You want to have a good meeting that flows great. You want to point that out, that people feel welcome, and make sure that there's time for people to sign up at the end of the meeting, and fill out the applications and network with each other. And make sure people have value. And people are developing, not just as communicators, but also as leaders. So all these things, you'll be able to fill this out. Again, you can't mention everything in your evaluation, but please try to make sure that you do mention the most important things, especially if you're going to evaluate your evaluators. Mention that. If people don't have bios, that's very important. If anything really, really stood out and affected the fun, make sure you mention that. And also, if something really, really went well, make sure you mention that and show praises to all of your officers, so your Toastmasters, etc., for doing such a great job. So again, this is the evaluation, general evaluator, some tips. It goes even deeper than that, but I'll do another video where I talk about evaluations themselves and giving a really good 2 to 3 minute evaluation. But this is just a general one. and use these tools, and it'll be easy for you or simple for you to succeed and duplicate this. Again, I'm D Jackson. Subscribe to our page. Make sure you like our page and like the video, subscribe. And remember, if you got any questions, leave it in the comment section. I look forward to meeting you and speaking with you soon.